Good morning again, subscribers, and welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner. This is the subscribers only section of the discussion of universal basic income, which is a topic that I've written a lot about over the years, and I get some pushback occasionally from the more traditionally conservative minded people about concerns that it's just another wealth transfer. Well, it is. It's a welfare program that is promoted by a wide spectrum of ideological positions, including a Democratic presidential candidate, Andrew Yang, I believe, more libertarian-minded senators such as Mike Lee, and a few more conservative-minded senators. The list of conservative people that promote this is much shorter. But I'd like to talk about this because it's one of the issues that, economically speaking, I get the most pushback from the conservative-minded people. The universal basic income it's correct to say that it is a socialistic program in that it is a welfare distribution mechanism. I like to call this the pragmatic libertarian mindset as far as economics in America and American politics goes. The goal of a universal basic income is not to supplement the existing welfare programs, which is what the more progressive-minded ideological position is. I believe that Andrew Yang suggests on his webpage that it should be a supplemental program of a monthly distribution of income based on income levels, household size, things like that, on top of that which already exists, like food stamps and simple welfare transfer payments, disability income, things like that. But he also goes to the step of saying that this ideology should replace the existing welfare system, which is the libertarian position in my mind. The universal basic income should replace the welfare transfers that we already make. Now here's the deal. While it's correct to say that it is a socialistic transfer of wealth, it's still a welfare program. The capitalism in the pragmatic side comes in. We need to understand, as a libertarian, I am an ideologue, okay? I'm idealistic. But we need to understand that these transfers of wealth are going to happen. There are too many tens of millions of people that send their representatives there to have wealth distribution schemes. There's never going to be a balance, a compromise that favors us. Okay, government is going to grow. It's a natural occurrence. It's kind of like a weed, but we should still promote things that approach a capitalistic structure that are more likely to be able to be passed in legislative processes. All right, the universal basic income favors a system of capitalism in that if we replace the simple government transfer programs, here's your VA card, go to the VA hospital, things like that, here's your Medicaid card, go to an approved network. What you're doing is you're replacing a government program with the monies that we already spend on those programs, and you're giving the individual, the family, the ability to have a wider variety of choice in how they spend those funds. And food stamps is a pretty good example. It's not perfect. There's some fraud and waste there too, like any government program, but it's a pretty good example. The expansion of choice allows for a greater abundance of markets to get pieces of those choices in the form of payment, of consumerism in their selection process of how they want to spend those funds. We should promote this because it doesn't close out networks. It doesn't close out markets. It allows for a more pure freedom of choice in all manner of consumer spending, and that ultimately would be a good thing for the economy as a collective, as a whole, and it would be a good thing in the promotion of freedom of choice in individuals and families. I'm not saying it's some sort of a magic, brilliant idea that is purely laissez-faire capitalism. It's not, but it's a pragmatic view of how we can realistically come across the aisles where we already have support from two drastically different ideologies on the implementation of this program. And if we can get to a more consumer-driven, choice-driven sense of freedom of spending, and eliminate some of the programs that just suck in these government funds and ultimately add to the growth of government and in particular of bureaucratic administrative growth, we're going to go a long ways in realizing a much better, a much more morally appropriate society that capitalism ultimately yields, a much wealthier society as a whole. And I hope that that's a little bit of a base discussion. I again hope that you all follow along when I write about these things, and it's much easier to provide greater detail in writing because you can cite your sources. You can sit back and think about what words you're typing as you go along, things like that. But I hope this is a good discussion, a good starting point. Thank you. Well, wait for the next one.